All right, what's up, everybody? This is Taylor. I'm here with Brolic, and I am here with Christine.
Hi.
And we're going to be going over her deck profile from this last Planetary Qualifier, this last PQ, where she ended up the champion, which is pretty amazing. So congrats.
Lots of fun. Lots of fun. Loved it.
So, Christine, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself and talk a little bit about what deck you brought and your matchups that you had in this PQ.
Yeah, definitely. So, as you said, my name's Christine. I brought QuinLan Vos TarkinTown to this PQ. One of my favorite decks. I'm a huge tempo player.
Yeah. Why don't you run us through? I know it's QuinLan, probably a lot of standard tech, but
Yes.
Run us through your deck a little bit. Tell us what cards you did swap out in your starting, and what sideboard you brought in, and what decks you were expecting to see with that in mind.
Definitely. So most of this is standard. You have your basic space units, like the Green Squadron A-Wing. You also have, find it real quick. One of my favorite space units, besides Falcon. Falcon is obviously great.
Falcon is incredible.
Yes. But I also have oh, here it is. I also have the Red 5.
Yes.
This pairs very well with QuinLan, because on attack, you deal 2 damage to a damaged unit, and this can really help early on.
Yeah.
With the QuinLan ping, like, you can play this, deal the 2 damage, and then if you, next turn you can attack and even damage that same unit that you pinged.
Yeah.
So it really helps early on, especially against those Han 2 Data Vault decks.
Yes.
Very useful, because they're already damaging their own units, so if I can get like 1 or 2 attacks off with one of these, it's like an additional TarkinTown in my deck, which feels great.
Yeah.
So space units, I only play 2 of the Red 5s, however. The reason being is that I wanted to make room for more disabling Fang fighters.
Okay.
The disabling Fang fighter is incredibly helpful against just so many different matchups. It helps against the Vader for cunning decks, the big space decks, because they'll deploy their leader onto a space unit, and I'm just like, okay, disabling Fang fighter, destroy it. It also helps against those control decks, where they'll play like Traitorous and steal my unit, and then I can play the Fang fighter and get that unit back, which feels great.
Yes.
It also helps slow down a lot of the other pilot decks, like the Han Green decks.
Yes.
Those play, they'll play an early Falcon, and then they'll play the Han pilot on there, and that can be very difficult to deal with.
Right.
But disabling Fang fighter will come out. Not only will I get a ping on the Falcon from QuinLan, but then it will also destroy the upgrade, and then I have a space unit that I can maybe even attack into the Falcon the next turn.
Exactly.
So
how many of the disabling Fang fighter are you running?
So I run 2 of those. I did a split between the Red 5s and the disabling Fang fighters.
Nice.
The Green Squadron A-Wing and the Millennium Falcon, I play 3 of both of those. And 3 of both of these is kind of standard. This is just these are both just so good. Yeah.
What they do.
Right? That 3 damage in space is just crucial.
Yeah.
So yeah, space is feeling great. I did bring in my sideboard, I also play 2 of the big Falcons.
Yes.
The big Falcons are very helpful, again, against those Vader for cunning decks. They play their big space unit, and this allows me to ambush it.
Yes.
It's also pretty good against control, actually.
Yeah.
Just because of the smuggle ability on there.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's like if I'm running low on cards, control decks sometimes have a hard time dealing with space units because a lot of the big threats are like, like Vader and Maul or ground units.
Yep.
So sometimes just being able to smuggle that out, it's like, maybe I'll get 5 damage off.
Yeah. And that extra 5 damage could be, especially for those control games, the difference between game and non.
Yes,
Yep.
exactly. And then, so as for ground units, some of the ones that are becoming increasingly common in QuinLan is Guerrilla Soldier.
Yep.
This is one of them that I absolutely love. Not only is it a unit that can ping with QuinLan, but also that indirect damage is really good with TarkinTown.
Yes.
Because sometimes people will play like a 1-cost unit that I can't really, damage because I don't really run any 1-cost units, but this will allow me to play it, and if they don't want it to ready, which it will if any of that indirect damage hits their base, sometimes they have to put it on that unit, and that can be really helpful for, again, just board control or
Totally.
as was in that control game against Chancellor Palpatine. I was able to play it on an empty board so many times.
Yeah.
And that's 3 indirect, ready it, then attack again, and it's like 5 damage out of nowhere.
Right.
So, huge fan of this.
Nice.
I do run a unit in here that is only a 1 of. I used to play more, but now I've replaced it with 2 of the Anakins. But the card I still really like is this X-34 Land Speeder.
Yes.
It's just a 2/3 with ambush.
Yeah.
But again, with that QuinLan ping, it can be really good.
Yeah.
My opponent has played like a 2/2 shielded unit, and then I just respond with the X-34 Land Speeder, ping the shield off, and then just ambush into it.
Yeah.
Like again, that sequencing is really good.
Yeah, and then it sets you up for the next turn of being able to damage base with Land Speeder.
Exactly. It's like I still have a 2/1 left, which is really nice.
Yeah.
But also it can take out a 3 power unit early. So sometimes I just, against like Sabine, I want to get rid of their Battlefield Marines super early.
Oh yeah.
So that they don't like Fleet Lieutenant me on the next turn. And so, again, this is just really good.
Nice.
But again, I only run 1 currently. Anakin's been slowly taking over that spot.
Nice.
He just has so much more utility. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then some of the other standard cards are the Sabine unit and L3.
Yep.
L3 has actually become a lot better in this meta because the Vader 4 Cunning decks play a card called Sanctioner Shuttle.
Yep.
And that, if they have Coordinate, allows them to capture one of my units.
Yep.
L3 says that when played, you can either put a shield on it or you can rescue a captured unit.
Yeah.
And so a lot of people don't remember that clause because it just hasn't come up in a while.
Yep.
But there's been a few times where I'm like, all right, instead of putting the shield, I'll rescue my unit. And they're like, whoa, what?
What are you doing?
Yeah, like you could do that?
Took it.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I rescued it.
Yep, exactly. And again, this card's really good in the control matchup as well, just because of that smuggle. With the shield and the smuggle, it's really good into control. Because sometimes they'll clear my board and they'll have 1 unit on the board, and I'll smuggle it out. And with that shield, it means that they can't immediately like attack into it and defeat it.
Right.
So then the next turn, maybe I can like play a hot shot blaster and get in for 4 damage.
Yeah.
Or gives me an additional chance to surprise strike for 5.
Yeah.
And so I definitely love L3. I run a 3 of.
Nice.
Same thing with Sabine. Very similar. Hard to kill sometimes.
Yes.
Sabine has a little clause that says that if you have 3 other aspects among other units you control, then she can't be attacked.
Yep.
And this has been relevant a lot because people forget about that.
Yeah.
And so sometimes instead of attacking immediately with Sabine, I will play another unit out, and then they'll get the aspects. They'll try to attack into her, and I'm like, oh, actually, you can't attack into her.
Yep.
And sometimes it throws them completely off and messes up their turn. Maybe they resource something because they thought they were going to be able to deal with her.
Yeah.
And sometimes I've gotten an extra 6 damage out of her just being able to attack 2 more times.
Right.
So that feels great.
Nice.
Yeah. Some of the other standard stuff that I love. Ahsoka has been great. The discard is already what I want to be doing.
Yep.
But the fact that I can also exhaust a unit if they discard a unit, so powerful. Yeah, it's again.
Again allows your board to just stay alive.
Yes, exactly.
They're trying to kill you because you're just going to go too fast. You're going to burst them down.
Yep.
And if they get rested, how are they going to attack your board?
Yeah, and also it's a force unit, so like it turns on that force throw. Ahsoka's like everything this deck wants.
It is. Yeah, it's perfect.
Yeah, it's great. Plo Koon, obviously like the MVP of this deck.
Yes.
Probably one of the best cards. Even just as a 3/6, still incredibly powerful.
Right.
Against that Kira matchup, even without the coordinate, you can actually take out a Kira, because she is a 4/4, but with the QuinLan ping, you can you attack in first, deal the 3 damage, and then do the QuinLan ping to finish it off.
Yep.
And that feels great. Obviously, much better with the coordinate. Being able to take out opposing like 3/7 leaders like QuinLan, incredibly powerful.
Right.
Take out Podamerons, Wreckers. It's just it takes out
so much.
So much.
Yes.
If it's left on the board and you have coordinate, your opponent's usually not in a good position.
Yeah.
Because like with Hot Shot Blaster, you're just like, all right, attack for 8.
Yep.
And that can just be like, all right, how are you going to come back from this?
They're not.
Exactly. Another card that gives a lot of reach is Cassian. Cassian's great.
Cassian's amazing.
I have been learning, as I've been playing this deck more and more since last season, I've been learning to keep him in my hand more and more.
Yeah.
Instead of playing a weaker cost 3 unit, sometimes I'll play Cassian out just because that early 3/5 body can help quite a bit. Yeah.
That makes sense.
So, especially if it's not going to be a game that I anticipate taking, like going to that late game, I'm like, all right, there's no point in me resourcing this just because it has Smuggle. Yeah. Sometimes it's useful just to have that 3/5 body, because that can also help control the board and keep a unit. So yeah, that's pretty much the standard of this deck. The force throws I've talked about so much already.
They're incredible.
The Han unit, also incredible. 6/6 ambush, and also attacks first, so you take out Mauls super easy. There were a few matchups where I did take out a Han and switch out for a Fennec.
Nice.
Fennec has the ability, on attack, you look at your discard pile, count up the different costs, and on her attack, you deal that damage first, and then you get her ambush. The reason I switched out a Han for a Fennec is because in those control matchups, they have a lot of big units, and sometimes that 6 damage just isn't enough. With Fennec having 5 different costs in my discard pile, I can actually take out a Reinforcement Walker, which is a 6/9, because I deal that 5 damage first and then attack in. And yeah, I definitely want to try to take out those because of the healing, the attack. It's
It changes the game if it stays on board.
Yep. There was one of the games on stream against Ian, I actually played Fennec and was able to attack into his Palpatine. who had 8 health left, and I was able to take out Palpatine, and Fennec still lived. So Palpatine only deals 4 damage back. So that was fantastic.
Well, we appreciate you tuning in and going through your deck profile with us. If you want to do any shout outs, you're more than welcome to.
Yeah, I'd love to do some shout outs. First is to my coworker and my friend Ian, who I played in the finals. He's fantastic. Love working with him. I think he actually deserved winning this more than I did. This is the second time he's took second in a PQ, so I'm like, all right, but you know, just have to do it. Also, shout out to Oasis Games. I love working there. I've been there for 6 years now.
Wow.
It's crazy, and it's great. Thank you to Kayfabe for hosting the event. Great store. They're actually considered our sister store. The managers have been friends for quite a while. So.
Well, thanks for running us through your deck.
Of course.
Your sideboard, your matchups. Honestly, very well piloted. I was able to watch some of your matchups on stream. So we hope to be able to have you back, hopefully after next PQ win.
Oh, yeah.
And we can do another deck profile with you. So best of luck at Worlds.
Thank you.
And thanks again for streaming in.
Of course.
Well, that's a wrap on today's Star Wars deck profile. Usually our host is the Contagious Laughter Abe, but today we let Taylor take the controls, like a rookie pilot testing out his first X-Wing. So, what did you think? Should Taylor replace Abe as our new resident Star Wars commander? Vote now by dropping a comment below. May the decks be with you.